This is Reggie, the okeetee corn snake, checking out his surroundings after fresh cleaning of his enclosure. Seems to really enjoy the fresh substrate when it's nice and wet. He is generally fairly active and begins burrowing and really enjoying it. It's got a couple of blinds, one on the hot side of the tank, and then over on the cool side where his water is, some driftwood, a couple of little additions like a overturned pot and a little Japanese pagoda, which is actually a candle holder, and then the ionic column column from the Parthenon in Athens. Some foliage, fern. This is a real plant that he likes to explore. And some more driftwood. Gotta have a dinosaur skeleton. And then he's got a big piece of driftwood for climbing on. Some pretty sweet digs. Reggie's about a year and a half old now. No, pardon me, 2.5. He had his second birthday in February. So he's about 2.5 years old. And pretty pleasant little pet. And Milo's even taken to him. Right? I named him from the snake that makes a brief appearance in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones climbs in the biplane to escape the natives, I guess, that are chasing him through the jungle. He gets a little surprised by the boa constrictor in the cockpit of the plane, and the snake's name is Reggie. So I decided to name him after that. He's about 3.5, 4 feet long, and he might still be growing. Maybe another year or so. He might top out at 5 or 6 feet. Hopefully he gets to be that long. And he seems to have a good amount of weight on him. He's pretty lean, and he's feeding on hopper-sized rats right now. And maybe soon I'll experiment with trying him on the next size. I think he's already starting to burrow here a little bit. I feed Reggie thawed mice, not live mice, and I feed him outside of his enclosure so that he doesn't associate his enclosure with food, and to protect him from possibly being injured by live mouse. Makes for a great pet. Pretty relaxing just to sit around and watch a half an hour of TV while you're handling him. He'll just go where you direct him, and is quite curious. He likes the heat, follows the heat sources, so he tends to like to go up sleeves and down the neck of your shirt if you let him. But if you're okay with that, you can just handle him, and he'll just be his curious self, and then back in the tank he goes. I have his tank here near a window, so he gets plenty of sunlight. It's recommended that the light source contain both UVA and UVB rays, but since he has plenty of exposure to sunlight as it is, I just go with a lamp that provides him with a little bit of heat. And throughout the summer I really don't even use it. It's hot enough here that he doesn't really need additional heat, so he will hang out in one of his enclosures as he needs to. But as the fall comes on and temperatures start to drop, I'll keep the lamp on during the day, and then I don't provide him with a heat source at night because his native habitat, Florida, during the winter anyway, nights can get down to below 10 degrees Celsius, so he's fairly accustomed to cool temperatures during part of the day. I have a temperature monitor and a humidity monitor. You can see the black wires for each of those sensors, and I have them sort of hidden behind the foliage to make them less noticeable. And they detect the temperature, of course, and the humidity level in the tank, and I have them centered in the tank to give an average temperature. It's not going to be the precise temperature of the cool side or the hot side, but it gives me an average. So I know that the hot side is probably 2 or 3 degrees warmer, and the cool side might be a couple of degrees cooler than the average. And that lets me know, gives me a good sense of what the conditions are like in the tank. The substrate is moist now, but it'll dry out over the next couple of days. And then occasionally I will take a water bottle and spray inside the tank, providing them with an occasional boost in humidity. He really wants to get at that rubber tree. In captivity, the lifespan is expected to be potentially over 20 years, so it's a bit of an investment to get a snake for a pet. But if you plan on making that investment with a snake, it's no more or less than you would with any other pet that lives a good number of years. He eats only about once every 8 to 10 days. So as long as he has water and he's recently fed, leaving the house for a short vacation or for a weekend is not a difficult thing to do. And in fact, snakes can go quite a good length of time without feeding. They can hibernate, go dormant, and survive, I guess, upwards of a year without taking in any food, and they'll just use their own reserves and go dormant during that stage. Some will naturally go dormant if the temperature drops in their enclosure, and you can actually induce a period of dormancy by doing that, by lowering the temperature, and the snake will go into an enclosure, into a hide, and stay there for an extended period of time. So now he's checking out his driftwood branch, testing the limits of his enclosure. I've only been bitten by him once. That was just a couple of weeks ago. He bit me for the first time when I was taking him out of his tank for feeding. It had been, I think, about 12 days since his last feeding, and I was planning on going on a bit of a short weekend vacation. So I was preparing to feed him, and I already had the thawed mouse in his in the box that he goes to feed. And when I reached into his tank to retrieve him, he gave me a quick bite. And I think it was because, one, that he was hungry, and two, I had rinsed my hand after handling the mouse, but I didn't wash it with soap. And the heat signature of my hand, plus maybe a bit of scent of the mouse on my fingers, prompted him to give me a quick bite. It doesn't really hurt when a snake bites you. He did break the skin just enough to make a bead of blood on my finger, but it's really just a flick, and I was startled more than anything because it was the first time he had bitten me, but only out of instinct, and it was entirely my fault. So I just gave him a few moments to collect himself, and then I went in and retrieved him again with a glove on that time, just because I wanted to be certain to not have a repeat incident. So I fetched him, and he fed normally, and he's fed since then, and I went about the normal routine, and he didn't offer to bite this most recent feeding, which was 2 days ago. So he's really enjoying his freshened enclosure. He's checking out pretty well every corner, and yeah, snakes are I think an excellent option for a pet. Corn snakes are fairly docile, and I quite enjoy Reggie. And that's it. Talk to you soon.